Hi, and welcome back to the second part, examples number 5, 6, 7, and 8. In these examples, I'm going to be giving you some information, so maybe a graph, maybe a point and a slope, or maybe 2 points, or a table, and I'm going to ask you to write the equation in standard form. To write an equation in standard form, it must be written in a different form first, and then converted into standard form. This is a very big idea to understand. You have to start the equation in a different form, so either slope-intercept or point-slope. Then you convert it to standard form. And that's because the a, the b, and the c in standard form, they represent nothing other than just integers. They came from a converted equation. So in order to write an equation in this form, you have to start with a different form first, and that's what you're going to see happening in these next 4 examples. Let's begin with example number 5. Okay, so here we are given a graph of a linear equation, and we're asked to write the equation in standard form. Like you saw before, the only way to get the equation into standard form is to start with a different form first. So we've got these 2 forms of a linear equation we're going to have to first get this into, and then we convert it to standard. So let's think about what information we know. We could easily find the slope, and we're going to need the slope for either form we pick. Looking at the graph, I can quickly find the y-intercept, boom, right there. I could also find a point along the line and put it into point slope. So, I mean, really, either one of these equations would be pretty simple to get this line into. But for this example, I think I'm going to go with the slope-intercept form, just because I can see the intercept right here. It's 3, and I don't even need to think about naming a point. So I'm going to slide you out of the way. Let's get this equation into this form right here. Okay, so we've got y equals, and our slope we see is negative because the line is falling. It's a rise of 3, a run of 2. That's consistent. We have rise 3, run of 2. So rise 3, run of 2. It's negative. And there's the x. Be sure you can see that negative, sorry. And then the intercept is at positive 3. So here I have the equation in slope-intercept form. Now, once it's in this form here, now I can convert it to standard. Okay, you got to start with a different form first. Okay, so now let's convert this into standard form. All right, the x has to be over here on this side, so I'm going to add the 3 halves x. Then I end up with 3 halves x plus y equals, remember this canceled, so 3. Okay, problem here, and I knew this was going to happen. We've got a fraction. We can't have a fraction when we have an equation in standard form. So I'm going to have to multiply everything, like you learned in the last lesson video, by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by 2. So be cautious if you just put parentheses around it, because what happens is that students will multiply the first term by 2, and they'll write down 3x, and then they just drop down the plus y. Be careful. This also has to be multiplied by 2 both. So that's why sometimes it's nice just to go times 2 to everything. So this is positive 2y, and then here this is 6, because you're multiplying both sides, everything by the 2. And there we end up with our equation in standard form. So we had to start with a different form first. We chose slope-intercept form, right? And then we converted it into standard form. And this would be the linear equation in standard form for this graph right here. These two are equivalent. They're just both written in a different form, but they're talking about the same line. Okay, that was example number 5. Let's move on to 6. We're given different information here in number 6. This is asking us to write the equation in standard form of the line that goes through the point 6, -7 and has a slope of 4. Okay? Remember that we can't write an equation in standard form unless we start with a different form first and convert it. That's the only way. You can't just start plugging stuff in like you did with these 2 equations. Standard form, this a, the b, and the c, they represent nothing. So you've got to start with a different form first. So here are our choices. Now, look at the information we're given. We're given a point and we're given a slope. Which one of the equations would make more sense to write first? Well, obviously this one, because all I'd have to do is take the point and plug it in and take the slope and plug it in, and voila, I have the equation. So get out of here, slope-intercept form. We're going with point slope. Okay, so this is what we're going to write our equation in. Okay, keep in mind, here's the x, here's the y. So let's get our equation into this form. I'm just going to slide it right down here so we don't forget that's how we write it. So y minus the y-coordinate, which is -7. Essentially, that's going to change that to a plus, and then equals. And after the equals comes the slope. So slope is 4. And then x minus the x-coordinate, which is 6. Boom, we got it into point slope form. Okay, now we convert it. This is where the fun happens here. Distribute, we get 4x minus 24, y plus 7. Okay, then I want the constants to be on the right. So minus the 7. -24 minus 7 is -31. Okay, now I got to get this x term over here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to minus the 4x. Okay, so I've got -4x. Remember, this is a positive y. And this canceled, so I have a -31 to bring down. Okay, now problem, do you see it? The first term has to be positive like our answer choices. So we got to get this to be a positive 4. We want it to be the opposite of -4. So remember, we multiply everything by -1 on both sides of the equation. Don't forget, both terms by -1. Everything is going to turn to its opposite. So this will be positive 4x minus y equals positive 31. And there's my equation in standard form. So I went from point slope to standard. Now, these two equations are equivalent. They're the same thing. They're talking about the same line. They're different forms. So if I look at the answer choices up here, looks like this one's going to match with answer A in number 6. Okay, it's time for 7. Here we're given different information, and here we're given 2 points. This line's going through 2 points. We've done this before, but you've written it in different forms. Write the equation in standard form now of the line that goes through these 2 points. So if we plot those 2 points, draw a line, that's what we're looking for here. Of course, we can't just put this equation into standard form unless we start with a different form first and convert it. So these are the 2 forms I can choose from. Okay, I can choose from slope-intercept or point slope. All right, in either one of these forms, I'm going to need to figure out the slope. I need to know the slope no matter which one of these forms I pick to write my equation in. So maybe I'll figure out that first before I decide. Okay, eyes on the y's, people. We want to subtract the y's to find the slope. -6 minus 6. And then subtract the x's, 1 minus, and this is -5. So I got the double negative in the bottom. In the top, I'd have -12. This is plus, making it a 6. -12 divided by 6 is -2, so I have my slope. Okay, slope is -2. Okay, now that I have the slope, which form should I write the equation in to begin with? I have the slope, so do I have the y-intercept? Do I know that? Did they give it to me? No, I don't know that part. Let's look over here. I know the slope. Yep, I got that. Do I know a point? Yes, I do. I'm given that. So you know what? See you later, slope-intercept form. We're not going with you. We're going to go with this one. We're going to write it in point slope because I have more information to get it into that form first. Okay, so let's choose a point. I'll just go with this first one because they both have negatives in them. So y minus the y-coordinate, which is -6, changing that to plus, equals, after that comes the slope. We found that to be -2, and then x minus the x-coordinate, which is 1, and I got it into point slope form. I'll move that. Okay, so now what I got to do here is convert it into standard. All right, so we know that when we do this, we have to distribute. All right, let's move the 6 over. All right, Now I got to move the 2x over to this side, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add it. Okay, get everything in the right order. I got a positive 2x plus a y equals negative 4, because I'm just dropping that down. And wow, first term's positive, no fractions, no decimals. We've got standard form. And it looks like this matches up nicely with answer choice D. So I just took my point slope form and I converted it into standard form, knowing that these two are equivalent. They're talking about the same line. All right, we are ready for number 8. And then after number 8, we'll kind of summarize a little bit too. So stay tuned for that. Okay, in the last example, different one again. We're given a table here, and we're asked to write the equation in standard form for the table. Remember, the only way to get an equation in standard form, hopefully you're getting the big idea here, is that you have to put it in a different form first and then convert it. So you got to pick from these two forms. Okay, which one would make the most sense? Well, no matter which one you pick, you need to find the slope. And we don't know that. So we're going to have to find that regardless. So let's first find the slope. And remember, to find the slope, we find the change in y over the change in x when we're looking at a table. So when we go from -8 to -6 on the number line, we're moving to the right 2 places in the positive direction. That's a change of +2. And when I move from -2 up to +2 on the number line, I'm increasing by 4. So the change in y is 2, the change in x is 4, which would give me a slope of 1/2. Okay, now I know the slope. Perfect. Okay. Now let's look at our two choices here. We know the slope, so we have the slope. Now, in order to get the equation into this form, I need the y-intercept. Do I have that from the given information? No. I mean, I could find it, but I don't have it. What about here? I know the slope. Do I know a point? Well, yeah, you know 4 of them. So it would make much more sense. See you again. Bye. Make much more sense to put this equation into point slope form, because you have all the information you need in order to do that. Okay, so point slope form it is. Let's just use the first point in the table. And I'm going to go y minus the y coordinate, which is -8. That changes to plus, equals the slope, 1/2. And then x minus the x coordinate, which is -2. And of course, that changes to plus as well. Okay, so I've got it in point slope form. We'll just move that guy aside. Now I can convert it to standard. Okay, I have no multiple choices here, so we're completely on our own. But we can do it. Distribute first. 1/2 times 2, or 1/2 of 2 is 1. Okay, I want the constant on the right, so I'm going to minus the 8. 1 minus 8 is -7. Okay, need some more room here. I got to move the 1/2 x over to the other side, so I'm going to subtract it. This is a positive y. Hopefully you're seeing the issues we're going to have here. We've got a -1/2 x, a positive y, and a -7. Okay, 2 problems. One, we have a negative a term, and then the second one, we have a fraction. Now, you could undo the negative and the fraction at the same time in one step. Absolutely. I'm going to do it in 2 just because I don't want to move too fast and confuse anybody, but you can do it in 1 if you want to. I'm first going to get rid of this negative. I just want that to be positive. So I'm going to multiply everything by -1. And this is multiplied by -1, multiplied by -1, everything. So that's going to change everything to its opposite. So I'm going to have 1/2 x minus y equals +7 now. See how I got that? Okay, now I'm going to change that fraction into a whole number by multiplying by the denominator, which is 2. Times 2, times 2, times 2, everywhere. Remember, see how this is 2 over 1, and the 2's will cancel. 1 times x is just x, minus, multiply by 2, 2y, and multiply by 2, 14. There's the equation of the line. If you were to plot all of these points and make a line, that would be the equation of it in standard form. I had to first start with point slope form then, and then convert it into standard. Voila, there we go. Kind of a lot of work there if you look at it. But you might have noticed you could do this in one step by multiplying by -2, and that works also. Okay, let's summarize here. To write an equation in standard form, it must be written in a different form first. Then you convert it into standard. So when you're given information, you've got to decide, do I want to first put it into point slope or slope intercept, and then convert it into standard. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day.